All right. Welcome back, Talk Football Live fans. We are here today with Ayo, Cincy, and Biodo. We're here to discuss some sweet games for the weekend. Manchester United versus Brighton and Arsenal versus Aston Villa. How are you guys feeling
Yeah.
today?
Feeling wonderful.
Good
Very well.
man. Good man. I got the away
Great.
jersey on.
You're gonna
Good to
you're gonna
go.
seem excited. You won against the Wolves of England. They couldn't bite you guys, and you're about to face the villains. Let's see if you do the same thing. But today we're going to start. Before we even start, we're going to talk about our fans, our lovely viewers who have subscribed already, but who haven't told their loved ones to subscribe. Please tell your loved ones, mamas and papas, friends and enemies, tell them all to subscribe. And hit the notification icon to know when we upload a new video. We're very grateful for your viewership. All right, so starting off today is going to be Manchester United Brighton. We're focused on Cincy today because he's a Man U fan, obviously a Ronaldo fan, as we can see from his shirt. And we're trying to just find out, what do you think is going to happen this season? Not just this season for Man U, but starting with this game, actually. Man U is facing Brighton, and it's still fresh. The season is still fresh. But do you think Man U has what it takes to defeat Brighton? And do you think Man U has what it takes to do better than they did last season? Cincy, over to you.
So good question. It's definitely good to be back in the season. It's good to have Manu back. And I want to be very optimistic this time around. I think last season I was a little bit pessimistic about United for the most part.
So it was your fault.
So it wasn't
And
my
your friend
fault.
Onana.
Onana will take at least 80% of the blame, but we'll come back to Onana. But one thing I would say is I don't want to be harsh on United, but I think they've conducted business well this summer transfer. They've gone about their business quickly and they know what they wanted. Now, the only thing is I realized that the players that we bought were pretty much old template from Ten Hag's Ajax old team. And that's what kind of concerns me. For me, I believe as a coach of this era, you should be able to adapt and evolve past your old templates. If you're still relying on your old templates, it just tells me that you don't have any ambition, you don't know what you're doing, and you're just trying to play it safe. And United is not a team to be playing safe. Now, we did get some decent buys, and I'm going to give these players some time, and I'm hoping that they would all come together and gel and become a formidable team. Now, if I was to assess our first game against Fulham, I thought that was a very, very uneasy win for United. I don't think it was the best win ever. I thought we deserved a draw in that game at best, because I'm not gonna lie, Fulham was very, very well organized. I think they came with a game plan. United at some point looked all over the place, but I think the second half was a little bit better. But now we are playing a Brighton team that is very, very good, that won away to Everton. So we have to be very, very careful. We cannot start the game the same way we started against Fulham. So if you're going to go to this game, we need to show some improvement in some certain areas. That game was at home with Fulham, and like I said, it was very, very uneasy at some point. And to say the least, ironically, Maguire happened to be one of the people that stood out in that game. People like Maguire, people like Casemiro, and these are players that have been, insulted and beat down in the past for their performances. So against Brighton, I want to say United are going into this game with a little bit of caution. I don't think I'm confident enough to say we are going into that game with a high probability of coming out with a win. But I believe that if we go in there and start the game very well, very organized, and reduce the amount of mistakes that we make and reduce the shakiness that I saw at the Fulham game, I think we should be able to grind out some results from this game. Again, I don't expect United to go in and be playing tiki-taka and beating everybody 4-5-0. I believe if we can grind out a couple of 1-0 wins, 2-1 here and there, it will boost confidence. And I believe those confidence will act as a catalyst in the mid-season that would also boost us if indeed we do need it for a title contention.
Okay, good one, Cincy. But you mentioned something, this is not really a question, just a comment. You talked about Ten Hag going back to his old template. I was not saying if he ain't broken, don't fix it. If the old template worked, I mean, in a different league, don't you think it's worth trying in the EPL? And we all talk about Pep. Pep doesn't really do that many changes anyways. He has his own template and he sticks to it, has been getting him results. Just a food for thought, food for thought. All right, good one covering, Man U, what you think they've done, good. How you've pointed that you were pessimistic last season and you're optimistic this season, so it's your fault they didn't perform last season, and hopefully, hopefully it helps them this season. You're optimistic. You've also mentioned watching for mistakes at the back or in key areas can help them against Brighton, and of course help them throughout the season. Biodun, let me go to you real quick. Talking about Brighton, yeah, since you mentioned they did good against Everton, what do you think Brighton needs to do to beat Man U, if it's possible?
I mean, so Cincy, I just try to help my brother here. Like, come on, man. It's just a game into the season. I know you, man. 3 or 4 games, bad results. You're gonna come back here and gonna get ash on man. I know that. So just be careful. But you promise, no, the very first game of the season, things can go wrong anytime, and you know that.
Yep.
This Man U team, I still don't trust them. Basically, what did you change? You changed players, you pushed out the guys that, been probably raking your finances and, on big wages and not delivering. You still have some of them, right? Right now, I heard that Lindelof is injured again. Probably maybe he's faking the injury because he doesn't want to leave. I don't know. But you've had a lot of guys on big salaries that just want to stay. McTominay is refusing to leave. I don't think he should leave. I think you guys just don't like him. I think it's efficient. He might not be skillful. I think it's efficient. So that's the problem. I don't know if the new players you have, I mean, just imagine Euro into the season injured, Ireland injured. So I think you're going to have to start with Sexy. Rashford might be done. I don't want to say that. It's a great guy, but I'm surprised that that guy has not been able to turn things around. So you still have guys that are weak, like both wings. You have Rashford that is weak. You have Anthony that is weak. Garnacho is probably the better one, right? So, and we saw him in the last game. Maybe he lost confidence. I don't know what happened. That was a second goal that he should have scored. He missed it. So, it's still the beginning of the season for everybody. But I say that because I know you 3 4 games, bad results. You're gonna come back here and gonna be ash again. So I just want to put that one out there. Brighton started very well. To your question, Charles, Brighton started very well. Was surprised to beat Everton at home. I think I had this conversation. I think I had a chat conversation with Tario after the game when he was saying, "Oh, Ozila,
That's
have I seen what Ozila is doing? 31-year-old James Mina is like 37 or 38, right? But
Yeah.
he made it work. So, honestly, I still don't rate Brighton, and I think I said this in our first edition for the season. I still think Brighton will end up in the middle of the table. But their first result was a surprise to me. I think they did well. But again, remember when you have a young team, that young team will give you energy. You just need to then, help them with confidence and experience. So that team is still relatively young, which is great for Brighton. I don't know where they fetch those players, but they always find a way to place them. Soma is back. That's going to be a problem. United have, which will be able to stop Mitoma. So that's good for you guys. Martinez is back until he gets injured again because we know the style of play. He's going to get injured. That is certain. Maguire, to be honest, has always been good for you guys. So people just like to go after Maguire, but honestly, that guy has been reliable for you guys. So I think you have a better defense than last season. But again, injuries happen to everybody. So injury is going to happen at some point, and that's when we're going to see the gap. I expect that game to be a tough one for Man United, honestly. That Fulham game, if Fulham had made better decisions, if they had made better decisions, I think at least they draw. Or probably because they could have scored first. You had your chances, but they were not as glaring as the one that they had that they didn't make the better decision. So Fulham didn't make better decisions. That cost them the game. Man United was lucky to get away. We will see what happens when it starts Zexi. And if it doesn't start him, I don't know what Rashford will deliver against Brighton. But I think Brighton, with the new manager that is young, that is not, I don't think the guy has nothing to lose. Let the team play, take the risk, let them play against Man United. If anybody plays against Man United, you're going to create chances. Man United is not that kind of a team that, going to have a lot of possession or, they play on, counters. And that counters, if you're smart enough, you can stop the guys that can make the counter. Bruno Fernandes, I think, is just getting ready for the season. I don't think he's fully fit. So Brighton can take the advantage right now. That's the point I'm trying to make. And if Man United is not careful, they will shock you guys. And I think it might just be a 2-1 win for Brighton.
Okay. A lot of what you said, I don't know. I'm not saying I'm best at summary or summarizing, but I think more of it is saying Man U is not that great, and if Brighton steps up, they can defeat Man U. And yeah,
It's
you
an home game
mentioned.
for Brighton. It's an
I'm
home
sorry.
game for them. It's an home game for Brighton.
Yes, yes.
So,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and of course, Man U has their injury issues. Every team will have injuries at some point, but I think Man U's one is coming quite too early. You mentioned Oiland. You mentioned what's his name now?
Euro.
Lindelof.
Euro.
The players already.
Alive. Look,
So on
Shaw.
that note, Brighton did say 2-1 in favor of Brighton. Ayo, do you agree with Biodun in regards to Brighton having the upper hand if Man U plays in their sloppy fashion, or Man U beat Fulham due to luck, and if they're lucky again, they can beat Brighton, but he's giving Brighton the upper hand. What do you think, Ayo?
So I think this game is going to be a real test of what we might want to expect from Ten Hag and uh, Manchester United this season, because Brighton are a team that we know they high press. And I think what Brighton actually did in the first game of the season is it was more of a 4-1-4-1 where they pushed their two midfielders up and leave one line defensive midfielder. And so that says that there's going to be a lot of pressure against the back line, a lot of pressure on, the likes of Kobe Mainu and Casemiro.
Yeah.
Now, I can, say I can trust Mainu and Casemiro in possession to an extent, but as, since he pointed out rightly, if they don't cut out the mistakes in the back, Brighton look to force those mistakes and they will capitalize. Um, Now, there are a few questions, right? We've seen Delict has come in. So is Maguire going to be dropped and will it be Delict and Martinez starting in the middle? Will Delict pair Maguire? There's also that question mark, when you have a new centre back pair and it takes some time for them to start to understand each other, to understand how to cover each other. Mazraoui was solid on his debut. There's still a question mark at left back. I know Dallo played there, but they're going to be coming up against. He's coming up against Yakubu Minte, who had a very good game in the first game for Brighton as well. So here's the thing: since Bjorn pointed out, Manchester United play on the counter, right? That's what we've come to expect from Ten Hag. When Man U have been at their best under Ten Hag, it's been counters. Actually, Anthony isn't playing Biodo. It's Ahmad who has been starting. He's played a lot
Yeah.
in preseason and he started.
No, just calling out their weak links. Like they still have all those guys. I mean, what's it called? Cincy was saying that he's excited for the new players, and I'm like, there are still some players there that they are different from last season. So
Yeah, but he's refreshed, right? So like since he pointed out, they made a lot of
Hopefully.
really good buys. You bring in Delict. We know Delict at his best is a solid defender. Mazraoui, we've already seen him. We saw him at the World Cup. We saw him again in the first game. He's a solid defender. There's a question at left back. There's still some question about the Menu Casemiro partnership. And up
Yeah.
front, they don't have a striker. I don't know if Ten Hag is planning to start with Xerxes every season, especially with Højlund injured. But at 18, my expectation is he would have someone else lead the line and maybe bring in Xerxes for a super sub role the way he did in the first game, right? He talked about Rashford possibly leading the line, but that's not what we saw in the first game. So I don't know if he goes back to that, whether Rashford starts to lead the line. So I think there are a lot of question marks. Brighton looked very good. Yes, it was their first game, but I mean, they forced Everton into mistakes. They capitalized on those mistakes. And Sean Dyche is a very defensive manager. You don't expect a Sean Dyche team to concede 3 games right off the bat. So that tells me that Brighton is doing something right. And they will test Man U. There are going to be goals in this game. I'm gonna if you were putting a gun to my head, literally, I would say I would pick Brighton for the win because I think they will force this Man U team into mistakes. I expect goals from both sides, so let's see how it goes.
Okay. Great, great. So you kind of, in summary, you kind of agree with Biodun a lot more than not. And you did say my Brighton win, just as Biodun predicted. Cincy,
Yes,
bias
sir.
aside, bias aside, with all you've heard, with all you know, what do you think is going to happen? If you're to predict a win, a draw,
I think if I was to predict, I want to see United would nick this one.
I said bias aside.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on, man.
Exactly. Bias aside, yeah.
Right.
And I'm telling you, exactly. Bias aside, I believe United will nick this one. And the reason why I think is because I just feel like United is going to start the season grinding out results. That's just what I see. You know, again, I saw something in the team that was to some degree encouraging in the first game, and it was just, at least I didn't see that laziness anymore,
Okay.
which is something that was very, very, very common with them. So I believe, again, if they can come out with the same fighting spirit, the same mentality, but just make sure that they reduce those mistakes, I don't see why they can't grind in another 1-0 win away to Brighton.
Okay. Great.
So,
Just
so
so
let me ask real quick. Cincy, are you predicting Man U for the top four this season, or I think you even
that was my
mentioned title
question.
challenge?
Oh, no. I said
That was going to be my
no,
question.
yes. I said in a situation whereby they grind a couple of 1-0 wins and they find themselves in a title challenge, that would encourage them. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying they are going to be in a challenge. Now, for this season, I'm still I can't predict where United is going to be, but I think give me 5 more games. But like I said, I want to see them grind out a couple of results. I don't even expect them to perform like be the best team out of every game. I want them to just get a couple of wins under their belt, and I think it's going to really, really help them. Then I can decide where they belong. Because right now there's a lot of uncertainty. I'm not even going to lie to you, man. There's a lot of uncertainty, and I believe the new ownership right now, the minute they realize that this guy is not performing, I don't think they're going to hesitate than just yank him out. So I think he also knows that his job is at risk as well.
When is Ugarte coming?
Let me say this real quick. We always go with a gun to your head phrase that you have to predict. You have to say something when we ask for prediction.
Yeah.
And I'll let before I even ask you. So let's just wrap this up on this so we can move to the next game. But before I ask you, I'm going to tell you I actually predicted Man U for top 4. Don't ask me why.
Okay.
Just have that in mind. And I'm going to ask you again. Gun to your head with the one game you've seen, preseason you've seen. Man U top 4, yes or no?
No.
Okay.
That's a reasonable guy, because when you were doing yours, I think you were drunk. You actually put Chelsea in top 4, right? Didn't you?
On that note, we're gonna move to the next game. I put Chelsea in top 4 and I stand by it, but that's a situation for another day. The next game is the super game, or one of the super games of the weekend.
What do you mean by
Arsenal
super
Football
game?
Club. I'm sorry?
It's just a game. What makes it super?
Anyways, Arsenal Football Club, second position last season versus Aston Villa. Well, Aston Villa 3rd or 4th last season?
Third, I believe.
Come on now.
They were 3rd.
And Liverpool was 4th?
Yeah.
No, Villa was 4th, Liverpool was 3rd.
It's just okay, maybe the other way. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, either way, this is the first time top 4 two top 4 teams from last season are facing each other in this season. That's why it's a super game. So, Arsenal won their first game, and it's expected that they win the second game because they're title contenders. And I personally, if I were to predict, I'll predict Arsenal to win, but I'm not predicting today, so scrap that out. Biodu, what do you think is going to be the result? What can Arsenal do right? What can they do better than they've done against Villa last week? We know Villa gave them the last loss they had last season to derail them from title challenge. What can they do better against their former manager to really, really get the win?
They should go and tell the manager that, yes, we were right for firing you. So they need to go and win the game to make a statement that, yes, we made the right decision to fire you.
That's why they should win, but how can they win?
How can they win? Yeah. By scoring more goals and conceding no goals.
Is that all you have?
What do you know? Because I know where you are trying to go, so I don't have your time tonight.
Actually, for once, I'm not trying to go anywhere. I was asking an innocent question. How can
Well,
Arsenal actually defeat Aston Villa? Because we know Aston Villa, they kind of a pain in your butt. They did that last season. You guys are still mad at them. You're mad at Emery. You fired Emery. Emery is mad at you. You know, it goes both ways. And you know this game is going to be, you're both going to come out guns blazing. So I just think, where do you think Arsenal has the upper hand? I guess that's my question.
number one, I'm not going to predict this game.
Oh, God.
I'm not going to let you stress me. What I have to say is, what I have to say is this game is number one, because of last season. Yes, they beat us both games, home and away last season. That's fine.
Aha.
2 seasons ago, that wasn't the result. So don't make it look as if they are a thorn in our flesh. They are not. Last
Okay.
season was unfortunate, and I felt that cost us a league, even though I felt like we lost the league in December anyway. So this time around, there is revenge in the air, and I believe and I expect the team to understand that if they are training, if they are thinking, if they are listening to the coach's instruction, they should have it at the back of their mind that that is not a game to lose. The worst come to worst on Saturday, they draw that game. The worst come to worst on Saturday, they draw that game. They cannot go there and lose that game. That is not going to be acceptable for a title contender. That's not going to be acceptable for what Villa did to us last season. They need to step up their game. I don't think it's going to be an easy game. I don't think any Arsenal fan expect that game to be an easy game for two reasons. Because Emery is their manager. Number two, because it's Villa. And they are not trying to make Arsenal kind of, their enemy or whatever they think in their head, which we don't see them. I actually hope that they suffer this season. I hope that they struggle this season very well, because there needs to be an end to their overthinking and thinking that they are better than that. So I want my boss to go out there and punish them and take revenge of what happened last season. How we do this, I don't care. We have all the boys that, if called upon on that Saturday, they should be able to step up and deliver. I would suggest two changes to the team that played Wolves. Let Calafiori or Timber start instead of Zinchenko, and
Okay.
let Trossard start instead of Martinelli. That will be the changes that I will make.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Well said. Trossard for Martinelli on the left, Calafiori for Zinchenko on the left back position. Okay, fair enough. And changes with a hint of vengeance is what Biodo is coming with. Cincy, I'll come to you, but I want to go to Ayo first. Let's just go along with the trajectory of Arsenal vengeance against Arsenal. Ayo,
Do
are you going to win
Is that your
with,
topic?
with the same spirit?
What's the question? Are we going to win?
Well, the question is, how do you win? Biodo chose the spirit of vengeance with one or two changes.
You see why I didn't want to talk? You see this guy?
What are you going with, Ayo?
So I agree with Biodun.
But you're going with vengeance.
Well, so hold on, calm down. Zinchenko, I think, is still a very valuable member of the squad, but I think there are certain games in which he shouldn't be starting, and this game happens to be one of those. Particularly because he's going to be coming up against one of the best wingers in the league in Leon Bailey, right? I think this is a game that I agree Timber or Calafiori should be starting. I have a feeling it won't be Calafiori. I think he might opt to go with Timber, but we need a solid defender in there. So that's one. The other is I don't think it matters too much whether Trossard or Martinelli start. I think whichever one starts, whoever is on the bench will come in the second half or at some point. So I don't think it matters too much there. One interesting change that we noted from what Villa did in the first game is Morgan Rogers is playing behind the striker now. He's kind of playing as an auxiliary roving 10, where I don't know if Buendia is not fit enough to start, considering he's been out for a long time. That's where they bought Buendia for. So I don't know if we'll see a change in terms of lineup or tactics from Emery, whether Rogers now goes out to the left or he pushes Rogers out again, behind Watkins. Wherever he is, I think he'll be fine. I think I expect him to start through the middle, and I think that's a job for Rice to clean up. So I don't expect any trouble there.
Okay.
Where will the game be won? I loved the way Saka took control of that Wolves game because, at some points it looked dicey. We're 1-0 up. It's Wolves, with all due respect, right? They're not one of the top four teams or top six teams in the league. And, you would expect us, once we go up, to then go ahead and clean the game. But that was not the case. They caused us a lot of trouble. I remember particularly the very good save from their new striker. The name escapes me, but Raya had to make a really good save to keep it at 1-0.
Yeah, he
And
has a
then
long.
Saka, what's that?
I say he has a long name. The striker. I can't remember his name either.
Yeah, and Saka took over. That second goal was. In fact, I didn't believe that ball went in because it happened so quickly. Like, the shot was ferocious, and that's what I want to see more from Saka. And it's. I think Saka is, to an extent, a bit underrated because he's been delivering season over season. But I think what he did in that first game is now the level that we want him to do this season, which is, yes, you deliver those goals and assists, but can you take control and decide games? I think that's the next level for Saka. And from what he did in that first game, it looks like he's getting to that maturity level where he says, you know what, whatever it takes, I'm going to keep going and I'm going to find a way to make sure I clean up this game and lock things down. So I want to see Saka take control. I want to see him clean up games, whether it's in goals, whether it's in assists, lock each game down for us. Let's see that in this game. And let's put those horrors of that 2-0 defeat behind us. As nonsense.
Okay.
All right, back
All
to
right.
you, Charles.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Well, I say that I just spoke with a little more, calmness, no beef, no anger, no vengeance. Just
I'm
do
angry
your
about that last game.
do
That's
your
really
subs and
ridiculous.
to be gotten. Anyways, Cincy, over to you. You know what Aston Villa did to Arsenal last season. We already talked about that.
Yeah.
We
So
know what people are doing. What do you think? How do you think Aston Villa can handle that game? How do you think they can win against Arsenal? If you think it's possible.
So first of all, before I dive into just the quick analysis of the game, one thing that actually surprised me about Arsenal this season is the fact that I didn't see a key signing from Arsenal, which is something that shocked me, especially considering the fact that they've been down this road and knocked down twice. I believe they should. I was expecting them to come to this season a little bit better prepared with a stronger team from last season. Now they do have quite a few backups. One thing I noticed again last season was because they kept using the same thing for a long period of time. And I believe tiredness at some point kicked in, especially with the reliability on Saka on a very, very heavy dose. And I feel like they are about to go on the same route this season and they might make the same mistake. Now, the good thing is they are playing games like this very early in the season, difficult games. So they still have these players at least functioning as close as possible to 100%. So with them going into this game, I believe Arsenal has the edge over Aston Villa. But like you said, Aston Villa is not a small boy. They are now in the Champions League, and I think they are a team to be, recognized in the league. I think Arsenal is going to win this game with more grit, but it's going to take a little bit more effort from them and more determination from them. But like I said, my heart goes to Arsenal. But again, if they don't fix this issue of playing the same players for 28 games, or for how many games that 28 games is going to be a problem. I think that is where 38 games, that's where the problem is with Arsenal, and I think that's where they're having issues. So again, it will determine what kind of injuries they face. Imagine someone like Gabriel or Saliba get injured. I don't think they have the defenders that are capable of covering for them on the long term. The same thing with Saka. If Saka goes out, I don't know if they have a kind of replacement to kind of fill out that role to hold him up. So Arsenal is a good team, don't get me wrong, but with the way Man City operates, I'm looking at their starting lineup and they played Chelsea, and those guys played with, that wasn't even their starting lineup. They were playing with players that we don't even know. Sabio, I'm like, who the hell is this guy? Where's this guy coming from? And so we see all these things happening. So it's scary when you think about Man City. But it's going to be another long season, and I'm picking Man City to win the league. But again, this game, I think Arsenal is going to win it because they are starting the season early and they have all their players as close as possible to 100%.
Okay, thank you. Two things. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'll go after.
Two things. The first thing is, although Biodo already told us he's not going to predict, so we're not even going to bother asking him. And since he already predicted that Arsenal is going to win, Ayo, I'm guessing you're predicting Arsenal is going to win also.
Yes.
Okay, great. Second thing, Cincy hinted about Arsenal playing players overusing players, and saying they haven't signed enough this summer. So my question would be for each and every one of you: if Arsenal could sign, because I think they've signed reasonably. I mean, Simba, for instance, didn't barely play last season, so he's a new signing in my book. They signed Calafiori. I think there's one more person which I can't remember right now, but I think I saw something today about a new guy coming in. But anyways, if Arsenal could sign only one player right now, which position would it be for? Aya, you first. Only one player, what position?
I think it would be a striker. It's unlikely that we sign Osimhen, but I think we need a striker of that caliber. Somebody who can do everything that Kai is doing and also doesn't miss chances a lot in the box or will relentlessly go and fight for the ball and win the ball.
Thank you for
Um,
next striker. We're really grateful.
you still end up in it.
Sorry, can I say something? Something I forgot to mention. Kai is definitely a very good plus. I think he's going to be the joker for Arsenal this year. That guy, I think he's going to bang at least 20 goals this year. That guy is a very good player. I think he's one of the most underrated strikers in the league. What I saw from him in Europe this season made me believe that. I was like, hold on. Even me too. I was not a believer of this guy. But what I saw, I was like, whoa, hold on a second. This guy is worth looking at. And I think he's going to be one of the key players this year. And I think that is one guy that is almost as close as to a new signing for Arsenal. But I think bringing in a new star player like Osimhen would definitely help Arsenal to, create that competition and that eagerness between the players.
So that's your answer. A striker is the position. You're agreeing with Ayo.
Yes, definitely a striker for sure. And definitely defense too needs to be looked at, especially with the center defense. Gabriel and Saliba, they rely too much on two of them too much.
I agree, but unfortunately, so are you saying you're fighting between defense and striker? If you could only sign one.
If I could pick, I think they should focus more on the defense. I think Abet is going to come out very good this year, but I think if they can find a decent player to cover that defense for them, I think they'll be fine. But you're still relying on those players, especially with the center back or the left back, position.
Okay, Biodun, how about you? One player, one role.
Let me start with where Cincy stopped. Maybe because he's a Man U fan, I don't think we need to do anything with the defense. I think the defense is great. As a matter of fact, so just so you know, 2/3 of Arteta's spending has been on defense. In case you don't know that. Defense today, we have, of course, Gabriel and Saliba starting. And I tell you that we have backups in that area. Now, what I think you probably might be hinting at is the right back. The right-footed center back, which is Saliba. But I tell you what Arteta would do. Timber played center back during the preseason. If the worst come to the worst, for us to rest Saliba, it will be Calafiori and Timber playing center back. That would work. Out of the 36 or 37 games that Calafiori played in, more than 2/3 of that, he played as a center back. The remaining ones, he played as a left back. He's tall. I saw him live 2 weeks ago. I was in Emirates 2 weeks ago and I saw him live. That guy is 6'3", 6'4". He's big. He and Timber can play center back if we need to rest Gabriel and Saliba. But another thing I'll tell you is this. It's not that the coach or the manager doesn't want to rest players. As a matter of fact, Pep forced them to sit on the bench because he understands the power of rotation and making players refreshed. These players are ready to go. That's what they want. Sometimes they have to just make it up and make sure that they don't break down so that I can rest them. So honestly, this season, I'm not worried about the defense. Just so you know, we have Tomiyasu that is injury prone. He would also come back. We have Kerentini that is injury prone. He can come back. So I think we have a cover in the defense. If I had additional money to spend this season, we would definitely spend it on striker. But at the same time, I will contradict myself. And I want to say this, and I know people might disagree with me. If you are a professional footballer, if you're a player and you play up front, you play in the attack, you should have no reason not to play anywhere, and you should have no reason not to score the ball. It's the same thing you do. It's the same job you do up front. You have the chance, you should be able to net. I think we're overrating this night position, and I think it's becoming an issue for everybody. Managers can do that because they want to change how you predict what they're going to do. When you have a striker, you're basically saying you have a target man. And when you have a target man, the opponent can decide not to play anything just to mark out your target man. We do that against City every time we play them. We take out Haaland and they can't do anything. You watch the games we played against that, we basically took out Haaland and there was nothing City could do. What Arteta has been trying to do is to make it unpredictable for anybody, making sure that my front three can, score and they can come in from anywhere. As a matter of fact, our threat is that midfield to the attack. Anybody in that midfield attack can come and score. That's what he's doing. What our players need to do to step up to become world class is that when they see those chances, are they converting them 90%?
Yeah.
If they can keep converting their chances at least 90%, then we don't need a striker. You're playing up front. Your job is to score the ball, score goals. Martinelli has had his drop. So if Martinelli is able to get back to his start 2 seasons ago, we don't need a striker. That's the fact, but people might disagree with me.
Okay. I started laughing when Bjorn brought up City. You don't want to hear my response, but I'm going to give it anyways. I always tell you guys about battle versus war, winning battles versus winning a war. And you mentioned you don't need the striker. When you face City, you mark out Haaland. You beat City last season. But who won the league? City won the league. Who won the league 4 years ago? Hold on. I'm not done. Hold on.
You're talking about the entire season. That's a different conversation.
But the question is, what do you need to improve your squad for the entire season? And you're saying
the question was about, can you win the league? I'm talking about striker. I think it's overrated. The goals.
I'm telling you why it's not overrated.
You scored a lot of goals.
Okay, let me just land my point. Right. You gave a valuable point of there's a target man, it can be marked out. We all know that. And you did it successfully last year against City. But City still won the league. The target man was still the highest goal scorer in the league. It was the highest goal scorer the year City won a treble. Not only in the league, but in the Champions League. I'm telling you, the difference between you and City may be because you don't have a target man. The reason City has won 4 in a row is because of Pep. But when they won the treble, it was because they brought in someone called Haaland, who is a target man. Yeah, he didn't perform in all games, but when he performed, he performed. So I think you saying 2 statements you made, the role of the 9 is overrated and you don't need a striker. I actually think you are really underestimating the effect of a good striker in a team. Because you don't have a target man, you can play with everybody up front. That's one way. You have a target man, you can play with everybody up front and a target man. So I seriously disagree. And this is a question, I'm taking it seriously because the debate I've had with a lot of Chelsea fans who talk about, we don't need a striker. We won the Champions League without a striker. I'm like, bro, we've not done it in years because, we're rebuilding a team, yeah. But watch last season. We created the most chances in the league.
Can I respond to your point?
Hold on. Let me just finish. We didn't score the most goals. So I think saying you do not need a target man when you've not won the league in the 2 years you've come so close when you didn't have a target man, I think that's you underestimating the effect of a target man, a good target man. Like if you have a Haaland in that Arsenal team, bro, you will win the league. I guarantee you. But go ahead. Respond.
Okay. No, I'm going to ask you the question. If you can answer, you answer the question for yourself. Before Haaland came to City, you remember the stats of all the players. They were all scoring. They were all double digits, from De Bruyne to KDB to Sane that left to Sterling. They all had
Mahrez.
Left and right. Mahrez. When Haaland came, you know what happened? Did you check the stats? All of them dropped. Haaland increased. I am not saying one is better than the other. What I'm saying is in this current Arsenal team, if we don't have a striker, it is not an excuse for us not to win. If the stats that the other players had 2 seasons ago stay consistent and increase. For example, Martinelli. I love him, he's a great player, but his stats has dropped. Saka maintained his. Kai Havertz came in, gave us a good start. If you have even Odegaard dropped last season compared to 2 seasons ago, all I'm saying is if all had the right start, at the end of the day, it would add up without a striker. Now, if we brought in a striker, which that was what we thought we did with Jesus, but it was misfiring. We tried to do that with Jesus, it didn't work. So we resulted into letting him play what he played because it's better at some other things. It's chaotic, it can create chances. So it was more creating chances for us. If we had that money, let them bring in the striker. But if there is no money and there is no striker, if the other players deliver, I think we can win the league. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Let me ask you a question. If you don't win the league this year without a quality striker, would you agree a striker can make a difference for you to win the league next season?
You're asking a question that I can't answer. I just give you the analysis. It depends. If the numbers of the other guys improved and we still don't win, meaning by scoring less, then yes. And I'll tell you this. Go right ahead. I've told Ayo, I've told the other Arsenal guys, they just don't believe me. I will bet you. I don't think getting the solid striker was the main priority for Arteta this season. I saw it. Even people are just hopeful. His priority is basically following the same template as Pep. This guy is basically using the same blueprint as Pep. And what is that blueprint? You build from the defense, you solidify the defense, you spend more money on the defense, make sure that it's good, do that with the midfield, then you bring the striker, which is the cherry on top. That's exactly what Pep did. Go and check the spending of Pep. It was way more on defenders. You remember when he started buying, what's it called, Laporte, John Stones? It brought a lot of defenders. Now, you would think that was enough. What did he do last season? Added Vardiol to it. Before he added Akonji. At some point, we're asking why. So that's the same thing Arteta is doing. So for us to bring that striker, and even ask yourself in this season, tell me who the strikers are. Very few top strikers. If you have to spend money, you have to spend upwards of 100 million. I don't think we're ready to spend that money, considering that we just spent 100 million on Rice last season. We are not Chelsea. We are not Man City. We are not Man United. We don't spend like that. We've never spent like that.
You're not ready to spend it. Doesn't mean it's not needed to be spent. I just think I get your point. Don't get me wrong, but I just think the statement you made that the two statements, the striker role is overrated, and you don't need a striker. Coming from someone who hasn't won the league, your two best seasons.
Again, you're missing the point. I'm not missing the point. You don't need a striker if the other guys are delivering. You're missing the point. You're cutting it out.
So I think if I go back to the point, hold on. If I go back to the point Cincy made, right? Which is overuse of the squad. I think that's one area that Arteta and the team really need to grow this season. And I understand when Arteta uses those same players over and over again. It's because this is a team that has to evolve, right? We know where we were 5-6 years ago, right? And he's having to rebuild the squad. So it's not just about having a first 11, first 14. It's also that when you bring in a player off the bench, you're not dropping the quality, right? City is now at the level where they can do that. They can afford to drop Akonji and bring in Stones. They can afford to drop Guardiola.
The picture on Sunday was like a child's play.
And bring in Diaz. They can drop Kyle Walker and bring in a Rico Lewis. I mean, Rico Lewis played that first game against Chelsea. And what's going on with Arsenal is if you take out Odegaard, like over the last 2 seasons, they've missed De Bruyne for large portions of the season, and they really miss him. If we don't have Odegaard for a significant portion, you're going to see a drop in the performance of Arsenal. If you don't, we saw that 2 seasons ago when we lost Saliba. That was probably the reason we didn't win the league 2 seasons ago, right? So it's having to build that squad up over time. If a player like Saka goes down, I think we might struggle, right? Because the amount of output that Saka puts in regularly over the season. So I think it's just going to take time. And like Beno said, we don't have the billions of Chelsea to just go buy the squad and buy every player that we need, in one summer. So it's going to take some time. We don't have the 100 million to go buy the striker. I'm really, really happy. I think it's very big, close to being done. Mikel Merino is coming in. I think that is a key player that we need because that allows us to solidify that 8th position. I said that before last week. I don't like Rice in that 8 position. I think we lose a lot of his athletic capabilities when we're forcing him to play in small spaces because English players are just generally not built to do that. Foden is an exception. Jack Wilshere is an exception. The kind of players England develops are athletic players, players who are big, who are strong, who are fast. Rice, to me, is being wasted. I would love to see Rice paired with Merino. I would love to see us giving Rice a rest and playing party with Merino. Merino is a player who can do what I think Kai Havertz was meant to be doing before we discovered that Kai is actually better as a striker, which is in that 8 role, Merino will switch roles with Kai and will be comfortable in the box, will, combine. Because the other thing we miss on that left side is the same way Odegaard, Saka, and White combine on the right side. We don't have Kai or Rice able to do that on the other side when it's Trossard and you have whoever is playing at left back, Zinchenko. On that side, we're missing that unit, that interchange of being able to break teams down on the left side. So what tends to happen is we hug the ball down the right, and then we're reliant on speed down the left. So we're hoping Martinelli can break away. We're hoping Trossard can break away down the left because we've created side by distracting the team on the right. You see a lot of times Odegaard is putting in balls into the back post. Saka is looking for balls into the back post. And so with Merino in, I think there's going to be a lot of tactical variability that the team is developing. That's another thing that I've seen from Arteta this season in terms of trying to make us more unpredictable, right? Is set pieces. They've changed set pieces. I saw Saliba. They've done a lot of practice work, it seems, in training with Saliba and Saka now being more dominant in the box with headers. And I think we will see more headed goals from Saka and Saliba this season. Anyway, I'll stop there for now, but let me not reveal all the secrets in case I have other managers, in the Premier League watching.
Anyways, good points overall. Good points overall. I get what you guys are all saying, but I just wanted to, just state this. I just believe in if you're doing something over and over and it's not getting the results you want, you need to try something different.
We don't hear you. We're trying something different. We're improving it.
Well, hopefully you if you get a striker, when the rumor came that you guys are going for Osimhen, I was worried because if you get, you try with it.
You don't want Osimhen. Let me just say that I don't want Osimhen. So yeah,
I know.
Why?
The thing is,
don't sell me Osimhen. I don't want.
Okay.
Why don't you want him?
Leave him. He doesn't want something good.
Osimhen won't fit into the squad, but we won't get into that.
There are way better strikers that are technical. That are technical, more technical that we should go after.
I don't think you even need a technical striker. You need a goal scorer. I don't think Alan is that technical.
You need an average striker.
He has an eye for goal. That's all you need.
Charles, Haaland is actually very technical, but let's not get into that.
I'm not saying he's not technical. I'm saying he's not that technical.
Who's that?
Osimhen? Technicality and
he's talking about Haaland. When you talk about running with the ball, right? If you're talking about running with the ball, combining with players, maybe Haaland is not that player. But in the box, that guy is
Haaland is a complete striker.
What happened to Cucurella on Sunday? We couldn't figure him out.
What happened to who?
Go talk to Cucurella. Ask him what happened on Sunday.
Cucurella.
My point is this. Haaland is not the most technical striker we've seen. But Haaland gets goals. He has an eye for goal. You need a striker who has an eye for goal. Now, I get what you guys are saying. You guys have players on the wings. You guys have players that can deliver. Kai Havertz, since you made a statement earlier, which I actually disagree with, I didn't tackle him about Kai Havertz giving you guys 20 goals. I doubt it. At some point, you won't be able to rely on Kai. I guarantee you, Kai Havertz can play the number 9 role for the whole season.
Let's bet it. Kai will score 20 this season.
I don't think we need an opinion from a Chelsea fan on Kai Havertz.
Anyways, we're giving predictions here. So, as I said earlier, I think bringing Haaland to City was what made the difference for them to finally win the Champions League. I think bringing a super striker
they were in the final of Champions League.
You guys win the league.
City was in Champions League final without Haaland. Don't forget.
They didn't win it. That's the point. You don't. And you can be in 10 finals if you don't win anyone. They won EPL. They won EPL more than one time without Haaland. I never mentioned EPL. I mentioned Champions League. Champions League was a golden grail for them at some point, and Pep was struggling. The year he got Alan, they won. They didn't just win the Champions League, they did a treble, something that hasn't been done in over a decade. So the point is, the statement you made that the role of the 9 is overrated is the statement I'm owning on to.
Hey, man. How many times will I tell you that you're cutting off what I said?
Okay, let's leave it there.
All right.
Yeah,
on that note, it's
Blues versus Gunners.
Yeah, Cincy, thank you so much for joining us. You know, this is how we roll. We hope you come back again.
Anytime.
And thank you all for watching. We look forward to the weekend games, and we look forward to tuning in again and sharing more videos with our viewers.
Up Wolves on Saturday.